Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my 39 show, Beyond the Cover, on Dreamcatcher Radio with me, Andreia Santos, as the one of the representatives of Dreamcatcher Radio. Today we've got some questions from the last week and this week as well, so I'm going to answer all of the questions. But first of all, I want to say thank you so much for those who are listening to me, and or just ones that just arrived and are listening to me right now, and those who are just being listening since the beginning. And what a beautiful day we've got today. At least I hope from where you are right now listening the Dreamcatcher Radio. It's actually good. It's a bit sunny. It's with some clouds in the skies, but it's all right. It's one of the weathers that is very common in Britain, isn't it? It's one of the weathers. So, at least it's not raining or even, snowing. It's beautiful when it snows, but then the problem is it lets the floor slippery, and then you fall, and then you can hurt yourself, and that's not very good. But regardless, today is all right. Today it's good. It's not raining, so if you can, go outside, listen to the radio, and relax. Or even if you're doing something, keep on the radio and keep listening to representatives. So now I'm going to answer the questions for the last week and this week. So Penny from Wimbledon says, would you pen a book for someone else? If you did, how would you go about it? If I will pen a book for someone else, do you mean like if I'm going to write a book for someone else is what you are asking? The answer I will do, if that is the question you're asking, Penny, is no. I will not write a book for someone else. It is because each writer has his own voice, has his own style of writing, and the way a writer visualizes a character might not be the same as I visualize how they describe them. So, for example, let's say that you ask me to write your story. I could do that, but probably the way I will do will not be your vision. And because of that, it will be more like, let's say, an adaptation and not a full vision of what you see, the characters, the world, etc., and the events happening, etc. So I'm hoping at least this is what you are asking, if I will write a book for someone else. But if I will go, if I will have to, let's say I will have no choice but to have to, I will have to write the way they want me to write, in a sense how they vision the story, the characters, the plot, the events happening in the story. And I have to respect that. I could suggest things, but if the writer says no, I have to respect that. Because at the end of the day, it's their vision, not mine. And this way I will go. So I'm hoping I answered your question right now, Penny. Thank you so much for asking. And the next one is Ursula from Croydon. And she asks, what's your favorite book and why? I have a lot of books in my bookshelf right now, Ursula, yeah. All the books I have read, I like them. Choosing a book that is my favorite, it's difficult, you see. Because, let's say I don't read a book right now, or I've read a book years ago. I was to keep it in my shelf because it makes me remember something. It might be from nostalgia sake, if you like. But if I have to choose a book that I really like, that's gonna take me so while to give you an answer, but I'm gonna try to brief as much. I'm gonna choose one of the books I've got here in my shelf, because I have plenty of books here. My mom can tell you. She asked me, did you read all these books? I said, yes, I did. I read them all. Not all, but a lot of them. So, yes, Mom, I know you're listening to me, so this is what I'm talking about. So, I think I'm going not particularly good in characterization, but in terms of the themes. I will do K.W. Jeter, Infernal Devices. So, those who know, this is the father of steampunk. And the steampunk is actually one of my favorite genres as well, because it's a very interesting world when machines are stuck on Victorian periods, and all the technology as well, but also the fashion and stuff like that. It's so interesting because you can dive deeper into robotics of time, if there is any, if they will do what would be like. The science as well, how was the world working that time, all things. Well, you can do so many things with steampunk, and at the end of the day, it's more aesthetic than anything else. But I think it's a very interesting stuff, and believe it or not, steampunk, it's not just English; it goes around the world, which is so fascinating. Did you know that is actually steampunk from Japan? That is that style. So it's just really so fascinating. Just goes around the world. As you can see, the genres travel around the world, and it's just a happy ending for every writers and also readers as well. And the reason I write this book is because, well, I just said, he is the father of steampunk. And the fact that you have to imagine, again, on the Victorian period specifically, the main character, it's a robot, basically. And his discovery, it is in the first book, just realized that he's a robot, and he's looking for his creator. And while I will say the characters are not very well done, but I like the technology, the science behind it, and that's what makes it so fascinating. And as you can see, Ursula, as I said, the characters may not be, complicated, probably if you call it two-dimensional, if you like, but it's the world building, it's the science behind it, it's how the writer crafted this so interesting style that is very unique. And I know steampunk is not for everybody. I know. And this is why I have the pleasure to have the father of steampunk in my bookshelf, which I'm just beyond happy. And I can go on for the same genre. I have Stars of Chaos by Priest. And this is not the same Priest from the steampunk as well genre, which also she has an entire collection of this as well. But it is a Chinese writer. And as you can imagine, it's steampunk, but in China. And it's around China on these... So basically the story is on China, but they are changing because the Europeans travel to the land. And so now, because they're happening as well some wars in there, they're realizing the technology is changing. And they're trying probably to adapt to that as well. So there are more 3 books I have to read, which I'm really want to get into that. And I can go, as you can see, I can go on with the Philip Reeve, with the Mortal's Engine, a very famous author. I think he's actually an English author, Philip Reeve, with the Mortal's Engine. It's a collection of books, it's steampunk, and I think there is also an animation adaptation of that. Of course, Ursula, this is just an example of my favorite books. You can see it's not just one, it's many. Of course, one will be probably what you're after, but for me, looking for a favorite book is difficult because each book, or even could be a comic as well, it means something. Or if it doesn't mean something, it's because of something that is interesting. And in this case, steampunk, because it's aesthetic and it is about the period time of Victoria period, which I am really fascinated about it. Of course, I recognize as well there are some negative aspects about the time, but it's for the aesthetic, for the technology of that. It was the beginning of things. I mean, can you imagine what it's like to discover steam for the first time? Can you imagine what was the first time when actually people could travel in trains? There must be a blast on that time, and that's just the exciting part. So steampunk is like, you remain a little bit on the, not medieval, but still there, but you're going to progress on the more technological side. So I like to say that steampunk is in the middle of cyberpunk and medieval. It's like in there. Of course, it's not 100% medieval, but not steampunk, but it's more in the sense of technology. If you really think about it, it's still there. So this is my answer for you, Ursula. What's my favorite book and why? So Michael for Nottingham asks, I think you said you're writing a book. What is it about? How long have you been writing for it? Ooh, I'm gonna try not to spoil too much, but at least the idea of my book, Michael, it's a dark fantasy when cosmic beings have to accept their darkness, or their shadow if you like, to be full enlightened. And that's pretty much the series. And the first book is going to center on benevolence. So benevolence will have to accept his darker side on this book to be fully enlightened. Will he accept it, or will he repress it or hide? We have to see if we have to read. So I'll leave that on a more of a mysterious. But this is pretty much my book about, or series about. And I have been writing this now. Oh, geez, good question. Probably, I don't want it to lie, but probably 5-6 years now. Yeah, it might be that, yes. Or probably 4 or 5. One of these, yes. So, as you can see, because the concept was very simple, and now it's transforming. Things are happening in my story, and I have to go back. I have to rewrite it. I have to do things. I also have other projects because I am on a masterclass of creative writing as well. And I am working on that project, but I have to put some aside because now I'm learning other things. So this is my brain. I'm telling you, Michael, my brain is a mess right now. Because he's saying, you have these 2 projects, we have to work on them. But then I go, but can we just focus on one? But then my brain goes, no, you have to this, and that. It's like, oh, it's just annoying, but it is. But yeah, my book I am writing is about that, because beings that have to accept their shadow to truly, fully be enlightened. And then I've been working on probably 4, 5, 6 years, I will say. So, the next question is Jean for Southampton, and she says, I'm an unpublished author and I love it to one advice. I want to give to authors is learn to doodle. It's great for thinking. Just thought I will share that. Jean, I absolutely think that's a very good advice. I think if people are actually stuck, they could just doodle. Which means they just write whatever. It's just simple ideas. They have no aim. And as the listener now can see, and a published author, she doodles. Man, she's pretty good. It's one advice. So, for Jane, it works doodle. And that's pretty cool. I don't do it myself because, again, I think because I am a very focused, orientated person, I just blow my ideas out and then what happens is I have to go back. But that's a different story. As I said, I'm a pantser, so you guys have to do what works for you. But I'm very glad, Janine, that you give this advice for writers. I'm very glad. So thank you so much. I think it's a really good advice. If someone is stuck or has no ideas or doesn't know how to start, doodle could actually help. So guys, see Jean giving an advice and published author giving advice. There you go. Listen. And the next one from Kelly Hawkhampton asks, what advice will you give to inspiring authors in your genre? Ooh, so I like dark fantasy genre. Well, that depends, Kelly. I mean, it depends. Depends on your theme, I will say. Depends what you want to explore in your story. Depends on your characters as well. But I will say, advice I will give to my writers is go bonkers. And I mean, as the word English says, bonkers. Go crazy, explore, be creative about magic system. Doesn't need to be your typical fire and ice. Be creative. Just explore many ideas. Remember that the fantasy part of it. Remember, fantasy doesn't have to make sense because it's already fantastical. But what has to make sense is how you create this magic. And when the magic is created and makes sense, the readers are going to be sucked into it. In my case, because it's dark fantasy, the dark part, I would say, is most likely because it has some horror aspects. So, of course, I have to pay attention for horrific images, or because my cosmic beings, they also might be in horrific side as well, because as we know, someone actually every part of my story, they say that my book is also goes to the weird fiction. So yeah, I mean, I have to be very careful with that as well. So I have to keep that as well, the same theme, the consistent as well. So yeah, just be my advice for those writing fantasy. Go bankers, be creative, and just go imagine and flow. If you want to write a magic that is on mushrooms, go for it. Just see what you can do. I'll suck to that. I'll read for that if I was a reader. I mean, it's something new, at least, At least it's something new that is not seen out there. And I'm pretty sure your audience will just grab the book and read until they can. For dark fantasy writers, well, see the horrors that you want to put in your story, basically. Be creative how you describe your world. Of course, if it is a grim dark story, it's going to be a very heavy theme there, because it's a very helpless world, but also we can have characters that have this sense of hope. So we're going to get in that when you explore the fantasy genre. We're getting that, because you're going to see how we'll touch this. But this is pretty much my advice I will give to those who write on my genre. And then finally, Hannah from Black Hole asks, have you had any surprising discoveries while writing? Surprises. Many, actually. What should I say? Many surprises. I mean, I will say the surprise I have the most is that, maybe not a surprise, but like how I evolved my book, which is a very simple idea, and now it's a complex world full of characters, motivations, and how the mystic and cosmic world works around it, I will say, is what was not surprised me, but made me think about it. Because surprise, I think I know it's a very world that is being, it says a lot on the writers. I've been come here to interview them as well, but it's just a discovery while you're writing, and I think that's most important part of while you are, crafting your story. I think it's the most important part is the discovery, and that's pretty much it. And this was the themes. No, the themes. No, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, my brain now. I'm working backwards now. This was the questions for. I want to thank you, Penny, Ursula, Michael, Jane, Kelly, and Hannah for your quest. Really, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. And for those who are listening, please come in, ask questions. Like Jean, if you are a published author, do give some advice. In this show, be on the cover, I want you authors to go out there and publish your book. Don't be afraid. You're going to do mistakes. I did mistakes. Doing mistakes. Doing more mistakes will allow you to perfect your craft. That is what you need to remember. And what a beautiful time to, just before we catch what I have learned last week, which is about writing books for kids. Let's now return to our music. And of course, let's go back to our childhood. I'm going to say I never watched this
Emma's Angel Readings. Feel that vibe every Thursday from 12 till 2. Come on, let's take the ride. Emma's Angel Readings.
An opening, so Mona the Vampire.
Give
And well, that was Mona the Vampire. Yes, I'm gonna make you feel like a kid today. Hopefully. So, I just did it because we are learning how to write kids' books. I just thought it would be very interesting to listen these, these childish titles, going back when we were a child, or even a teenager, because they're going to touch on young adults as well. And I think it's just very interesting. Yes, for those people who have been waiting to listen or usual goth metal bands, I'll say to this, we will return to listen them, but still keep now while we still can on this very most kids music and stuff. And I'm gonna listen to these two songs. It's not usual, but because I did a lot of the questions, I thought to just put it more at least on time. So the next song will be for those probably this is probably much modern. Probably I will say, I'm not sure. I don't know all kids watch nowadays. I'm not even fully aware, but Adventure Time, the opening theme. So for those who are watching the series, I hope you will feel very nostalgic. So right now, let's listen Adventure Time.
Adventure time, come on, grab your friends. We'll go to very distant lands. We'll take the dog and then the new and the fun will never end. It's adventure time.
This was pretty fast, but it's a really fast intro, and it was Adventure Time. Now a little bit more on the music song. I wanted to share this song because it was the first, if I remember correctly, Disney movie I watched when I was a kid, which is Tarzan. This music is from the Phil Collins, You Will Be in My Heart. It's a very beautiful song. And a fun fact about this is that Phil wrote this song for his daughter, so she always knew that her father will be with her and she will never be alone. And if you remember very well, on the Tarzan Disney film, this song plays very shortly when Tarzan's, Araucatan, I believe, mother just holds in his arms, this movement when you do with little babies to calm them down, and she starts to sing, and then Phil Collins starts to sing. I think it's a very emotional scene because Tarzan, he knows he's very different from the monkeys, and he's just a kid, and kids rely always on adults to guide them to the journey to adulthood. And it is so important for Tarzan to be accepted, to just feel part of the community of the orangutans. And because he does not, he's just very frustrated, he's angry, he even tries to grab a little bit of mud, I think it's mud you say, yes, in English, or the soil, and wash it on his face just to try to look like them. And I think this music is so beautiful. It always makes me cry. I just like to share it with you. So this is Phil Collins, You Will Be in My Heart.
Come stop your crying, it will be alright. Just take my hand, hold it tight. I will protect you from all around you. I will be here, don't you cry. For I'm so small, you seem so strong. My arms will hold you, keep you safe and warm. This bond between us can't be broken. I will be here, don't you cry.
a little drop just fell in my eyes while I was listening to him, because I imagine this is a very powerful song for all fathers, mothers, and who knows, maybe, grandparents as well, aunties and uncles, all the family that loves their kids. And I'm pretty sure this is also a music for them to say to all the children that they're being raised or being together. So this was Phil Collins, You Be in My Heart, one of the, thousands soundtrack for the movie. And now, yes, let's recap a little bit what we have done last week. We've learned a lot, actually. We started to see in the literature genre, which is one aspect that makes a good story in book. So we saw that the genre is a category of literature defined by the tone, content, and style of literary works. It's also characterization matters because it helps the reader to expect the content of the story of a literary work. It gives them a specific type of emotional experience when they read the story of the author. And fiction genre, we have learned that the word fiction usually, if not most of the time, describes any story that involves imaginary people and or events. And that talks about the fictions, we're talking about specifically prose. Throughout poetry and drama can also be fictional. So yes, fiction doesn't always mean fantasy or sci-fi or other genres, but also sometimes poetry and drama can also be fictional. We also saw the types of genre that also how many words that encompasses them, because if you go into a self-publisher, you have to be aware of this. So flash fiction usually is 500 words. Short stories runs around 5,000, 10,000 words. Novellas are 10,000, 40,000 words. And of course, the novellas, mostly of fantasy genre, bother me. Jeez, I eat a lot before I come to the show. It's over 40,000 words. It can reach to 80,000. We start to see on the children's fiction. And we see the different types of children's books that we can read, which is picture book. We also saw the early reader books. We also saw the chapter books, the middle grade books, and young adult books. We saw them all, what they were, the words usually that contained, etc. And usually what we can expect. So now, things that we saw as well, at least in this case, to avoid writing kids' books, is to avoid long sentences. Also, this is keeping the writing clear, simple, and accessible. The younger the reader is, the shorter the sentence has to be. For example, if you remember, the picture book is kids that usually experience a picture book for the first time, through parents or teachers reading it loud for them. The child grows, they often use picture books to practice new reading skills. So this would make sense if the sentences are shorter, not long, because remember, they are still learning. They don't even know how to read yet. But also, we also see just on the avoid long sentences to just don't get up on the moral of the story. Just don't preach, because the child is going to notice. And we know the children usually don't like to be told what to do. We all do. I'm pretty sure if parents are listening right now, you pretty know sometimes your kids just say, no, I don't want mommy, no, daddy, I don't. That kind of stuff, right? So we also see to be relatable but not bland. And we started to see how to write in the children's book as well. And we saw it was research books in the category. We also saw research the audience, and we saw specifically here that your kid reading your book is going to be your audience, and he's going to tell you what they don't like and what they like the story. And it's probably the best audience you're going to have, well, in a sense, your better reader, because he's already telling you as a kid what he doesn't like. But of course, keep in mind, only search for, better readers because of the things going on in the story, and structure, etc. So remember that. So, and also come up with an idea. And we saw that young people take the lead in children's literature, from baby books to young adults. Sometimes the protagonist is an animal or a crying on people, so be creative on this. And also kids want to see themselves as complex heroes who face challenges. And this is what makes kids love your book. Another aspect is establishing the voice and style as well. So the picture book and early reader renaissance tend to present sentence, third-person narration. Also the romantic well is hard. Of course, do write in verse if you got it in you. But workshop it a lot as well. And don't condescend to your reader, no matter how young. So don't try to make yourself more important than the reader, because remember that when it's happening and they don't like it, they will tell you straight away. So jump into story right away, and this means you have to start your story into action, because remember they are young and they like things happening. Yeah, they are still young. So follow standard process, of course. Despite you writing your book for a kid, doesn't mean you have to avoid all the story structures we have learned. Go back in mounts now. And also another aspect is when the story to satisfy your reader. So we saw that for picture books, early reader books, and chapter books, you want to have a clear resolution and a happy ending. But for middle grade or younger reader, the first to the standards of your genre. So it means that for the middle grade and young adults, you can just have the standards of the genre of your story. And with this as well, let's see our books. Yeah. So the aspect continues. We saw as well the self-editing as well. So keep in mind, edit your book always, and then get the feedback, and then revise it until it is just ready to shine for your reader. And now, just to remember the power of your book. And this means that you can make a kid that reads your book a long-lived reader. And the more you're creative with your story, and that, the more the kid's going to be probably, who knows, maybe your next writer that says, oh, I remember that writer read for the book. I love the stories. It was so imaginative, so passionate, so creative. And now I am reading it, but I'm also writing a book myself. I get inspiration from them. So who knows? You could inspire them. And now, yes, we're going to start to see now the middle grade fiction. So it is a category of books that represents the most exciting time in a young reader's literary life. As the category of reading you graduated once it became clear you could plow through your early reader chapter books without a guiding hand. This was when reading became less about the guiding skill and more about life, the story of the book disappearing inside a world. Okay. So what this means is that they cease now, they are more independent now to read the book. They are not learning how to read anymore, because they know already how to read. Remember, they are in school, they are studying, blah, 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 so they already know what to do that. It's what you keep in mind. So now let's see now the definition a little bit of the middle grade fiction. So middle grade, so goes to MJ. Funny, I'm sorry, but this is the abbreviation. Readers learn between the ages of 8 and 12. So and 12. This audience has moved beyond chapter books, which contain very easy vocabulary, simple sentences, and single storylines that feature almost exclusively external contents. If you're writing a middle grade book, you are writing for young readers who are ready to dive into fiction independently. They're not reading for a parent over their shoulders anymore. Instead, they are under the covers with a flashlight way past their bedtime, flipping through an adventure they chose for themselves and can't put down. The middle grade fiction dives into deeper themes that chapter books do. While middle grade isn't as introspective as young adult, it does begin to mirror the inner lives of its readers. As is the case of most children's books, the protagonists of middle grade novels tend to be a little older than their readers. A standard age around middle grade protagonist is 10 to 13 years old. A middle grade fiction includes many of the same genres you find in the adult literature. This includes science fiction, fantasy, action, adventure, humor, horror, and realistic fiction. As for the length of a middle-aged group, most fall in a range of 30,000 to 50,000 words, though fantasies are often longer. So this is mostly the definition you have to keep in mind while writing. If you aim to write for middle grade books, so keep in mind that it's between of age of 8 and 12, and they can already read independently. They don't need the help of a kid, the parent. Also keep in mind that now you can dive deeper into the themes than the book chapters, because of course, but has to be the things that are related to their lives. It cannot be deeper. For example, if you're going to talk about, let's say, loss in a young adult book, for example, they are still young. They can understand, but not in a deeper level. So try to, if you want to talk about something related to their lives, which is of course what the notes that I took from my website recommends, see what the middle grade sees the world, and this will be your audience, and this will be, in a sense, but not your better reader, but not your better reader. Does make sense? Probably not. So what I'm trying to say is, you can say to your kid, look, I'm writing this for your age. Read for a while and tell me what you think. And they're going to tell you, but tell them to be really bluntly honest with you. And they're going to tell you what they like and don't like. If they don't like something, ask them why. And they will tell, if it is something that at the moment they are feeling because of what they're going through in life, ask them why. And that should be the theme. But it could be, it should not, it could be the theme of the book. Because it has to be related with the story. And also, I just read it right now that the genres, as you can see, is just like the genre of the adults. So we've got fiction, fantasy, action, adventure, human, horror, and realistic fiction. It's mostly the genres that found in the middle grade. And before we see the audience, because of course we have to talk about audience, this stuff, because this goes really deeper, these things go really, really deeper. I'm going to present now the next, probably a couple of songs actually, because usually they are just 1 minute if so. So my next song is actually, let me see, this is going back to Going with a Kid, the Powerpuff Girls, the theme song. Yes, we're going to listen to that. It's silly, it's funny, but you know what? We're going to be kids today, and we're going to just go back to our childhood and listen. So, guys, the Powerpuff Girls theme. Oh.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girl. But Professor Utonium accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction, Chemical X. Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born! Using their ultra superpowers, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup have dedicated their lives to fighting crime and the forces of evil!
Well, back in the time, there used to be this very creative, and I think just the Powerpuff Girls and these little kids, just have superpowers, like we just see right now. The kids like to see themselves as these complex superheroes are going to save the world. Let them be the superheroes. Why do you think that, well, in this case, your kid or the kids you see in the streets like to dress as superheroes or princesses? It's because of this. They like to see themselves as these heroes are going to save the world. I'm going, just to defend the evil forces, blah, blah, blah. For us adults, because, of course, this is silly. But for them, it's just the world of them. And we have to see that. As writers, we have to embrace that. Go back to your childhood. And remember what we used to like as a kid. It could be an inspiration to give yourself as well a little bit of love to yourself, And then the next one I'm going to reveal is a Lilo and Stitch intro theme as well for the Disney. So guys, without further ado, on the Disney, Lilo and Stitch.
Malihini Ohana. Welcome, caution to come on by. Aloha, come on by. Ilaila, Okumaila. No Malihini Ohana. Welcome, caution to come on by. Aloha, come on by. Aloha, come on by.
Tiki ni hao.
Iki tiki ni hai.
Aka tiki baba. Gaba ika tashiba.
Gaba iki tasiba.
Ucha. Sika.
Ilaila, Okumaila. No Malihini Ohana. Welcome, caution to come on by. Aloha, come on by.
Tiki mama.
Aloha, come on by. Aloha, come on by.
Aloha.
Well, what can I say more? It was Lily and Stitch from the Disney. And if you ask me what they're saying, I have no idea. I think it's just, playing, just saying his alien language. And I think that's enough. And it's very catchy, I think the kids' songs are very catchy. It sticks in your brain. And I think you find yourself, perhaps, at the end of the day, singing them. And now, another song as well. Very, very brief. It being so far is very, very brief. But I'm going to remind you, we're going to listen to more prolonged songs as well. The next I'm going to actually play, it's actually an anime for kids. It's Pokemon. Yes, we're going to listen for those who probably are familiar with Pokemon and, Japanese culture, etc. Yes, we're going to listen. This is on actually, I think it's singing in English, not in Japanese. So, but I think it's very common, so. Without further ado, guys, Pokemon Season 1, Indigo League.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. Each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon, oh, you're my best friend. In a world we must defend. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Our hearts so true, our courage will pull us through. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon.
Yes, let's catch them all. I think there's also one of the video games. Do you remember this one of video game? I think you have to. I haven't played that video, but I know some friends of mine when I was to be in Portugal that they have downloaded in the cell phones, and also they have to travel around the places to tell them where to go, and they will catch Pokemons and stuff like that. Yeah, that was of the days. I know it's been a while now, so but this was Pokemon. Just. Yeah, it's one of the stories, and it's one of the movies that I think that makes us a little bit alive as well. It brings a little kid inside. I think we are all kids. Deep inside, I think we're all kids. But I think how the world is right now, it makes me sad that kids has to be adult very, very young. And that makes me sad. That's not right. We should allow kids to be kids for a very long time until they fully grown up, and then they can be adults. Because probably now, most of us are thinking, I wish I could be a kid again. There's too many responsibilities right now. There's too many bills to pay now. I have to do this, I have to do that. It's too many responsibilities. But that's adult life. And that's part of a beautiful life as well. We were born from our mother's, from our mother's womb. Then we come to the world. The parents do their best to educate their kids. And I'm talking about the really, really good parents, of course. I'm not going to put apart those who are very terrible parents, because they are, unfortunately. And then the kid grows and becomes an adult. And I think there's a cycle of life. And then one day, they go older. And then, they become very, very old. And then they become great parents as well. So this is a cycle of life, which is a very interesting stuff. So, then, it was Pokemon. So, we just start to see the middle grade fiction, and we see that represents the exciting time of a young reader's life. because they are not independent reading. They don't need their parents to read for them. And also, we start to see that the audience moved beyond chapter books, which contain fairly easy vocabulary, simple sentences, and single storylines. And of course, mostly feature exclusively external conflicts. And the middle graders books usually have themes than the chapter books do. Of course, they are not very introspective as, let's say, young adult ones, but at the same time, it mirrors what is happening in their lives. And in this case, the protagonists of middle grade novels tend to be older than the readers. And we saw that it is 10 to 13 years old mostly. And the middle grade fiction includes many of the same genres, so we saw that the most popular ones are science fiction, fantasy, action and adventure, humor, horror, and realistic fiction. And now let's see the audience, which of course we can all guess, which is the middle graders. But let's touch on that as well, because I think it's just good to do a gentle reminder to ourselves, because sometimes writers just go a little beyond this. It happens. So, middle grade readers are independent readers. They no longer let me see here, what is it? Oh, it smells. Sit down with a book because someone was tasked them with learning to read. Now they are on an adventure to enjoy a story. This means your job as a middle grade author is to understand the stories and themes that speak to their growing hearts. If you write in middle grade, your audience is a phase of life where they are beginning to see the wider world beyond themselves. They are discovering who they are, not as individuals, but as contributors to their families, communities, schools, and friendships. They are also discovering the social structures that define their lives at the school, at home, and in the neighborhood. From friends and media, they are learning what it supposedly means to be cool, be important, and belong. And they are beginning to cue into thoughtful life experiences like divorce, loss, and prejudice. In other words, they are beginning to long journey out of adolescence. They are learning how to become young adults. As a result, they gravitate towards fiction that is introspective in addition to being plot-driven. They are like characters who are discovering their calling in life and their role in society. The best grade novels reflect that experiences. And then we're going to see how. But see how you as a grade reader have to be very, very, not just let me see here, not a middle grade fiction author, but see how the things you have to pay attention when you're writing the book of this. So you have to keep in mind they're very independent now. They no longer the teachers say no, you have to read this. No, they are independent. They can read by themselves. And also they are discovering the stuff around them, where they belong, who they are, what is their place in the structure of the world, etc. Of course, I will say to nowadays the world it's a complete mess, but besides that, it's the things that you have to understand as a middle grade writer when to write these things also. And also becomes very introspective in them as well, because if they discover themselves, the story have to reflect that as well. And because they are in this long journey to adulthood, which is to be a young adult, the characters have to discovering themselves as well, this calling for life and the world in society, and this is what drives your middle grade reader for the book you want to write. Now let's see the popular topics. At least the book has to have at least. So. The themes that resonate with this age group tend to center around topics such as family, including heavy topics like grief and divorce, friendship, especially lost, new or evolving friendships, experience at school, body changes, the question of belonging at home, school, or in the community, new awareness of what's going on in the wider world, a growing sense of identity and personal responsibility. You don't have to be afraid of young readers. In fact, most kids' middle grade fiction is a good vehicle for exploring, emphasizing, and discussing all scary stuff that comes with being a human. And these are examples I found on the internet, which has By Everywhere by A.M. Dosso. The theme explores refugees, identity, family, racial equality, and poverty. Another example I found is Digging for Victory by Kathy E. Faulkner, which explores themes of tactless self-esteem, intrinsic versus extrinsic influences of identity, fitting in, bullying, rejecting stereotypes, grief, and family. Another example I think is final is Land of the Last Wildcat by the Lewis Sitt, explores themes of study and exploit nature, environmental topics, threatening the natural world with respect, family, and friendship. As you can see then, middle grade books explores heavy topics. But keep in mind the topics have to be on the surface level. Think of middle grade fiction serving primarily as an introduction to those topics. Let's say that your book will discuss about terminal illness, when you will touch on loss and grief, but you will go deeper on the inevitability of death and suffering. And this is what you have to keep in mind while writing the books of your for a middle grade. Sure, you can delve deeper in these topics because they start to understand what's going on, but not on the same level, perhaps as a young adult or an adult. That is what you keep in mind. And if you really think about the examples I gave, are very topics. By Everywhere, by Amy Dawson, the themes are refugees, identity, family, racial equality, and poverty. That's a heavy topic. Digging for Victory by Kathy Faulkner explores themes of tactless self-esteem, intrinsic versus extrinsic influences of identity, fitting in, bullying, rejecting stereotypes, grief and family. Land of the Last Wildcat by Lewis Sitt, which is themes of study and exploit nature, environmental topics, threatening the nature world with respect, and family and friendship. This is not topics that you will write for any kids. But the middle grades are going to understand this on the surface level. But they will. Because they are fully aware. If you really pay attention, the kids will say to you, this is polluted, or the animal is suffering. We have to adopt him. And this is to be the sign that you saw in your kids. Not probably going to say, but maybe, this also is influenced by the parents, because they are. Remember, we are educating them to a better future in life. So was this why we said they are the future? Because they are. Because they're going to reflect our society. In this extent, the middle grades are going to understand this stuff. We're going to talk about grief? Talk about grief. Surface level. But you can talk about it. They will understand. On their own brains, of course, because if you go deeper into death and mental illness, etc., or illnesses in general, just be mindful of that. And before I go deeper into the tone, probably voice as well, I'm going to introduce you our next songs. Let's see on my list which ones I can play now. Okay, so they're going to start to be a little bit longer, but not too much. So we can... I'm so sorry. My gosh. As I said, I am... You know what? I have eaten a vegan chili recipe, and it has a lot of protein and a lot of veggies and these very spices, and I think I'm just full of just like a so it's one of the things that, well, oh my gosh, what food can do. So the next song is not going to be about anything with the heavy topics, but it's going to be about superheroes, and this is Justice League Unlimited, and this is the introduction for the series. So guys, without anything to say, Justice League. Well, that was it. Justice League. As you can see, it's very right. Is very on the right side. We can understand that. I'm pretty sure your kid knows the characters that are involved in the Justice League. Trust me, they do. The kids nowadays knows everything. So it was just not like us back in our days when we probably are, playing on the sand, etc. What these kids nowadays are they just know a lot of stuff. Sometimes even too much. And I say sometimes we just need to go back and let your kids go in the garden and just let them just play with the sand. Then they dirt the clothes, so be it, let them. They need to touch, they need to be in touch with nature. And I think that with the kids as well, that let them be that way. So, again, going back to animes, I used to actually watch Sailor Moon. So if those are very familiar with Sailor Moon, it's basically magical girls, basically. So there's also romance between the main characters, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So, just to be nostalgic, let's listen now the Sailor Moon theme song.
Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight, never running from a real fight. She is the one named Sailor Moon. She will never turn her back on a friend. She is always there to defend. She is the one on whom we can depend. She is the one named Sailor Venus, Sailor Mercury, Sailor Mars, Sailor Jupiter. Secret powers are so new to her. She is the one named Sailor Moon. Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight. With the sailors got to help fight. She is the one named Sailor Moon. She is the one named Sailor Moon. She is the one, Sailor Moon.
Well, what can I say? This is Sailor Moon. And I hope you're feeling very nostalgic and feeling a kid again and, just enjoying all these songs. As I said, let's be kids today and just learn how, kids also, because, you can be the next writer that can influence other kids to read. And I think nowadays, more than ever, that these, I know how to express, but these just bloodsucker and billionaires just want to make everything digital. I can understand for some people it's very difficult, but for normal people out there, just make everything digital. Kids are losing what feels like to be outside the world. And there's no joke about it. I think they need to be more outside playing with other kids, outside, playing football, etc. Because otherwise, I don't want to think a world that we have to deal with the kids. They're going to be probably have mental illnesses and other stuff happening as well. I want the kids just to be kids and enjoy life while they still can. And to keep rolling with still the theme of being a kid again, let's not listening. Probably, I don't know if you guys have heard this when you were little ones, but Inspector Gadget theme. Yes, that's the name of the theme. I thought it's very funny because I think I still remember seeing this, but not that much. But I know there's an inspector, it's not like a detective, but it's not detective, and the guy is just basically a robot. There's just a million gadgets inside him. So, without further ado, Inspector Gadget theme. Ooh. Well, this was Inspector Gadget theme. And with this, we're going back to our show. Just to recap what we have learned, the popular topics for the middle grade middle grade fiction, we saw that usually if not mostly of the time, the themes for them centered around topics such as family, including heavy topics like grief and divorce, friendship, especially lost, new, or evolving friendships, experience at school, body changes, the question of belonging at home, school, or in the community, new awareness of what's going on in the wider world, a growing sense of identity and personal responsibility. But also we saw that despite of these topics, we don't need to shy from them. In fact, middle grade fiction is a good way for exploring, emphasizing, and discussing all the scary stuff that comes with being human. And also, I saw that yes, explore these heavy topics, but then keep in mind at surface level. So now, what the tone do you think should be for this type of book? So, the thing is, there is not a fine middle grade tone. There is the determining factor when creating a story's tone. As we know, there are several genres in the middle grade category. So now, let's see which tones you will expect to find in middle grade fiction. Caustic, vindictive, depressive, cynical, scathing, or condescending. In other words, the goal of middle grade action is to not devastate the reader. You can talk about tough stuff, you can write emotional scenes, but this is not the right age group for representing the idea that life has no meaning and people are entirely terrible. So yes, as I've said, remember, explore all the stuff I've read, the topics, so I'm going to remind you, which are grief and divorce, family, including heavy topics like grief and divorce, friendship, especially loss, new or evolving friendships, experiences at school, body changes, the question of belonging at home, school, or in the community, new awareness of what's going on the wider world, a growing sense of identity and personal responsibility. So as you can see, yes, you can explore this, but don't be caustic, vindictive, depressive, cynical, scathing, or condescending. And also, you can write emotional scenes, as I've read it to you, but not with the idea to make them see, oh yes, life has no meaning and people are terrible. That's not the right place to put this. You can explore ideas, but don't be too negative about it. Because remember, I'm going to remember again the age of the middle grade, for you guys to remember the grade. The ages are of 8 and 12. So, while they're exploring what is their place in the world, with the family, friendships, etc., has still be that level of positivity. Yes, we can talk about loss or grief, but again, on the surface level, and not to the time to say, oh yes, life has no meaning. Because that's more for the adult side, which we know and this comes, if you think about it, I've been telling you, this comes back to psychology, how the brains work, and how, when we used to be kids, how we thought we're not the same people as we thought we were 10 years ago. No way. Or probably most of us not 10 years ago, but probably 30 or 50 years ago. We're not the same person. Of course we're not, because our brain evolved. We are out of being big children right now, and we are adults. So, the tone is not to be caustic, vindictive, depressive, cynical, scathing, and condescending. So then how the voice has to be? Very good question. The thing is, unfortunately, a lot of middle grade authors, especially first-timers, make the mistake of assuming this means the narration should be on a childhood voice. They oversimplify their sentences and vocabulary, tossing some kid slang, and get liberal with explanation points. The result is often a manuscript that kids and editors alike immediately recognize as a grown-up doing a bad impersonation of a 12-year-old. Because remember, the 12-year-old, your 12-year-old kid knows already how to read. It doesn't need a simplified text. Sure, you're not going to complicate to the point of being an adult, but you can challenge them. You can challenge your kids to read. And that's the exciting part. So a better option is to approach your middle grade fiction voice the same as you would if you were writing for adults. Start by asking yourself, who is telling the story? What's the narrator's personality? Which point of the view am I using? How close is the narrator to the story? What is their attitude towards the story? This is your tone. How do I want my readers to experience the narrator? Do I want them to laugh? Feel understruck? Be creeped out? So this is the question you have to ask yourself. I personally don't write kids' books, so I cannot answer that. But if you yourself read the books for the kids, especially for the age you want to write or want your kid to write, yes, you can ask these questions. You can see how the writer does. Yeah, probably gonna end up seeing bad examples, but that's how we are even now today as a society. Pardon me again. On the literature nowadays. So as I say here, first time they're going to do a terrible job, but that's okay. They are learning, and they just need. If I think they could understand that the 12-year-old kid can learn and read by himself or themselves in this case, they shouldn't have this problem. Another aspect to keep in mind on voice is build the voice of narrator, the word choice, rhyme, tone, pacing, etc. Then worry about making the action appropriate for middle graders. So now, here's an example of the passage from Inside Out and Back Again by Tanada Lai. You see how this sentence is. Eggs explode like smears of snot on a front door. Bathroom paper hangs like ghosts from our willow. See how in this verse, instead of trying extra hard to make a narrator sound childlike, the author focuses on vivid, concrete images and simple, direct sentences. The result is evocative, poetry, and any kid will understand. See how this example is actually pretty simple, actually, if you think about it. So, I'm going to read it again. Eggs explode like smears of snot on our front door. Bathroom paper hangs like ghosts from our willow. Your kid, if listening right now, he understands. I'm 100% sure. You don't need to explain what it is. He will tell you what it is. It's simple. It's direct. The author is not trying very hard to sound like a kid. They are not. This is right. They're being creative. And poetry goes away. And if you want to know the book, it's called Inside Out and Back Again by Tanada Lai. So then, you might ask, which tips are for writing middle grade fiction? Well, for that, I am going to introduce the next song, which is going to be Disney song again. Yes, we're going to listen a lot of Disney. I know what's happening with the Disney right now with AI, and it's a mess. I really how it's happening right now. My dear God. But it just really proves that corporations don't really care about creativity, and they all instead to try to earn more money than the artists. And I'm all for to be, self-published if needed to. And other authors out there, if you think this is the right path to do so, go for it. If you see you have to have make a contract with the publisher, see if it works for you. See if you know the share is fair, because if not, let's just leave. You're not going to work for somebody that wants more than you, and they are doing nothing. If you know what I mean, they're not the creators of your book. So now let's listen a song by Pocahontas for 1995. Can you imagine a 1995 Disney movie made back in this day? So Pocahontas, Just Around the Riverbank on Disney.
What I love most about rivers is you can't step in the same river twice. The water's always changing, always flowing. But people, I guess, can't live like that. We all must pay a price. To be safe, we lose our chance of ever knowing what's around the river bend, waiting just around the river bend. I look once more, just around the river bend, beyond the shore, where the gulls fly free. Don't know what for, but I dream the day might send just around the river bend. For me, coming for me. I feel it there beyond those trees, or right behind these waterfalls. Can I ignore that sound of distant drumming? For a handsome, sturdy husband who builds handsome, sturdy walls and never dreams that something might be coming. Just around the river bend, just around the river bend. I look once more, just around the river bend, beyond the shore, somewhere past the sea. Don't know what for. Why do all my dreams extend just around the river bend, just around the river bend? Should I choose the smoothest course, steady as the beating drum? Should I marry Cocoam? Is all my dreaming at an end? Or do you still wait for me, dream giver, just around the river?
I want to remind you all that back in these days of Disney were made by hand, the animations, the coloring. Can you imagine by hand? I'm not judging those who use technology, for example, 3D animations. I think they look fantastic and cool as well, don't get me wrong. But because now AI just took that creative out of creative people, it is frustrating and is absolutely an insult for those who created Pocahontas, all of these things that we know, Beauty and the Beast, Lilo and Stitch, and the list goes on. I am a writer and I see AI being an insult, personally, for creative people. Using, for example, let's say a 3D model to help the creative people to model a character, that's fine. That's okay, because they're using a program to create their own vision. That's okay. For example, writers use Screenweaver. It's a program for writers to write a book, but the Screenweaver is not doing the work for them. And for me, that's why AI is very intrusive. It's wrong. Because people, I think we're losing a way to think. And AI is doing that for us. We are no longer, curious to know the world. We're not curious enough to travel out and seek the truth. Whatever the truth is, I'm not going to tell you what it is because each of us has different lives. And it's up to us to discover the truth on our own pace and life. Whatever it is, we should keep saying to these big corporations, oh, you cannot pay an artist or 3D artist to do a very good animation for you. Ha, I'm going to laugh in their face. I'm going to laugh in their face. They cannot pay, they can. Oh, they can. They just don't want to. And because that, they should be ashamed. They should know that without creative people, they are nothing. Absolutely nothing. And with that, we're going to keep a listen to, I know what I've said right now sounds a little bit harsh, but as a creative writer, right, we all do our best to creative stuff. And when you read or even see people complaining that works have been stolen, as I speak right now, works of fiction or non-fiction even, or poetry even, whatever the genre is being stolen as a second I speak. That's not right, that's wrong. If, I'm going to tell again as a writer, if you want ideas for your book, join a group in Discord. They have plenty of writers Discord channels out there. Pardon me. If you are stuck with ideas, ask them. I'm stuck with this. What do you think? I do that all the time when I have no ideas. I go to Discord books and say, look, guys, I don't know what to do with this. What do you suggest? And they suggest ideas and I say, oh, that's cool. Thank you. And I move on. Of course, I can understand it may be economical difficult now to ask, for example, for, I don't know, an editor or stuff like that to see your book, etc. I can understand that part. But at the same time, you are taking the job of the people that also have a job in their hands. But it's not our fault. It's not the fault that people cannot afford. It's not the fault that the artistic people that are trying to thrive in this world, they're just against them every single day. We just need to speak up and say, we do not agree that AI is in our lives. We do not accept. Because creativity should be from us, from our experience. Because I'm going to tell you, a robot will not tell you, oh, I feel depressive because of this, of this. They don't understand what depression is. They're going to tell you what another person tell them what it is, or what somebody programmed them what depression is. But live with depression, with clinical depression, they will never understand that. A robot cannot understand that. And with this thing, because I know there are situations, but in most of cases, AI should not be in our lives. Let's be something more positive now. And this is a very interesting title because this is from Cinderella. I'm going back to these days, yes. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name of the song because it's just, it's so fantasy-like, but at the same time, it's going to be felt nostalgic. So I'm going to try anyway. So it is Biddy Biddy Babby Boo, something like that. So from Werner Felton. So Cinderella.
Salagadoola, menchikaboola, bibbidi bobbidi boo. Put them together and what have you got? Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Salagadoola, menchikaboola, bibbidi bobbidi boo. It'll do magic, believe it or not. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Now salagadoola means a menchikaboola roo. But the thingamabob that does the job is bibbidi bobbidi boo.
Rookie, one of these, isn't it, huh?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes, isn't it? Now, with an elegant coach like that, of course, we'll simply have to have, mice.
Nice.
Oh, this really is nice. Why, we'll have a coach and four when we're through. Just a wave of my stick and to finish the trick. Bippity, boppity, boo. Gracious, what did I do? I was sure there were 4 there. There should be 1 more. Oh, there you are. Bippity, boppity, boo.
Oh, poor Lucifer.
Serves him right, I'd say. Now, where were we? Oh, goodness, yes. You can't go to the ball without, a horse.
Another one?
But tonight, for a change, you'll handle the reins and sit in the driver's seat, too. For instead of a horse, you're the coachman, of course. Bippity, boppity, boo. Well, that does it, I guess. Except for, oh, yes, the finishing touch. And that's you. Yes, Bruno, that's right. You'll be footman tonight. Bippity, boppity, boo. Well, hop in, my dear. We can't waste time. Now, don't try to thank me.
Oh, I wasn't. I mean, I do, but don't you think my dress?
Yes, it's lovely, dear. Good heavens, child. You can't go in that. Now, let's see, dear. Your size and the shade of your eyes. Something simple. But daring, too. Oh, just leave it to me. What a gown this will be. Bippity-boppity, bippity-boppity, bippity-boppity.
Oh, it's a beautiful dress. Did you ever see such a beautiful dress? And look, glass slippers. Why, it's like a dream. A wonderful dream come true.
Yes, my child. But like all dreams, well, I'm afraid this can't last forever. You'll have only till midnight, and then...
Midnight? Oh, thank you.
Oh, no, just a minute. You must understand, my dear. On the stroke of 12, the spell will be broken, and everything will be as it was before.
Oh, I understand, but it's more than I ever hoped for.
Bless you, my child. Goodness me, it's getting late. Hurry up, dear. The ball can't wait. Have a good time. Dance. Be gay. Now off you go. You're on your way.
Well, what can I say? This was Cinderella. I'm pretty sure you guys recognize the scene. It was very direct to the scene where, you know, where the fairy just puts our protagonist in a very beautiful dress. Everybody's just ready to the ball and they just go there. But as you can see, it also reflects what I'm being told right now. Cinderella is on the spot to look beautiful to the prince. However, she has to pay attention. At 12, she has to go away. Otherwise, everybody's going to see the disaster it is. A not very beautiful young lady dressed for the ball. A couple of, animals just dressed as horses. And two actually, one being the one that just on the front. The other just let her go inside. Anyway, it just really reflects that. So, before I really start to say the tips for writing for this age, which is, I'm gonna say again, for, oh my gosh, no, middle grade. So we saw the tone, and the tone must not be caustic, vindictive, depressive, cynical, scathing, and condescending. While yes, you can explore every topic, remember, on the surface ground, and not be too depressive. Otherwise, it's not for them. Because again, the middle grade action is not to devastate the reader. You have to give them still a hope. Yes, they're discovering themselves. Yes, the world is unfair, but the result has to be still positive for them. And also to the voice, pardon me, we saw that many authors unfortunately do the mistake of, Oversimplifying sentences, vocabulary, toss some kid slang, get liberal with exclamation points, and then the result is not very positive for the manuscript, for those reading it, and even for the kids. So we now see the aspect has to be. I'll also give an example of one author, if you guys remembered, from Inside Out and Back Again by Thahana Lay, where she used still challenging sentences, but she was not trying very hard to sound like a kid. But she uses in a way that creates creativity and imagination to the kids. And that's what writers out there, they want to write for this category, can do as well. Challenge the kid. So now, what topics are there to write for middle grade fiction? So let's now read them. So, of course, the first one you should be in mind is to read middle grade fiction. This advice applies to any genre you want to write, since you have to understand what your readers expect in your book. In this case in particular, you have chosen a category where the books are short. Try to create a deliberate list for yourself including this: current middle grade bestsellers within your genre. Prioritize this one if your goal is to sell books. Middle grade classics and middle grade books that seem interesting to you. Then start working your way through the list. Take notes as you write, what you notice about the story, structure, tone, voice, and diction. How do authors make complex topics accessible to younger readers? What tropes or themes keep coming up? This is a very simple advice. To read middle grade fiction makes sense for any genre you have to read, the genre you want to write, to understand, again, the structure, the themes involved, what to expect, the tropes, etc., etc. The next is know your readers. If you want to know your reader, the best way is to write a story that resonates with them. Ask kids about their lives, school, friendships, family, what they know about current events. Notice what they seem to value, how they judge themselves and others, what they worry about, and how they talk. Find out what they are reading, which books they love, and which books they hate. If you don't know any kids, volunteer for a local membership program or kids club. I will say as well, besides what they suggest here for the volunteer for a local membership program for kids, a membership program or kids club, and also be in contact with the kid as well. Also, for you to understand, you can also volunteer for this. I know my name is not coming to my lips. It's probably coming. It's it's a shop that, for example, you can volunteer for Oxfam. For example, a charity shop. Come on, man. No, that. See how my brain works. It's one of these days. So, let's say you volunteer for Oxfam. I am a volunteer for Oxfam at the moment. I can tell you, kids' books is a vast universe. I don't deal with them most of the time. But I'm going to tell you, if you do that, and you say you would like to just focus on the kids' books, you're already doing this. You're already idea which books are popular. You have an idea which books kids are reading. And while you are in a shop, notice how the kids, which books the kids grab the most. That should be your audience. Your audience are already telling you what they want to read. Believe me, they are. Because again, with middle, of course, you have to read yourself as well, but also know your readers. You have to know them. For any genre I'm going to read here and learn about the genres, you always have to read the book your genre. And this is one of them as well. And one of the also other advices it gives into writing middle grade fiction is to keep up with trends. Is that a trope format, or subgenre your readers can't get enough of right now. Take a note of it. This doesn't mean you have to obsess over it. After all, what used to be popular tomorrow can be less popular weeks or months later. But being a formative reader of any genre means knowing what your audience is responding to. This is why you want to keep an eye on the bestseller lists. And if you know any teachers of parents, ask them what their kids are secretly reading at the moment. I would say this is a good advice, but don't be too stuck to it. Because again, I just want to say, your best audience is the kids. Ask them. If you have a very interesting creative idea for a story, write about it, let the kid read, and let them answer the question if they like it or not. That should be your answer. Following the trends, I'll be very careful personally. His advice is given it on the website. Again, I took off this information. I will say with this specifically, be very careful with trends, because you can spend hours on this, city trends, the popular authors, etc. But then, if nothing resonates with your kid, then what of it? You have to go back to Stack Zero, which is to read the fiction books, and also ask your kid what they like to read. So, in this keep up with trends, keep in mind, just pay attention. I will say yes, pay attention to tropes, formats, subgenres. That's for sure. I will say yes, keep that in mind. But the popular ones, keep in mind perhaps the popular ones might not be the best ones. Yes, they are popular for a reason, sure, but maybe your kid is not going to like it. So, I would say it depends on the kid, mostly. So, this will be my personal advice. So, the other aspect of this, take them into a journey. Don't teach them a lesson. Again, going back to not be condescending. Every story has something to say. In other words, theme. And if you work your theme into your story artfully, your reader will get it without feeling like they are being thrown a moral towards them in a preachy way. Young readers are subjected to preaching a lot because we grown-ups get all excited about instantly telling them with or wisdom which will annoy them a lot. So the secret here is to focus on telling a great story about compelling characters and let your messaging subtly ride that wave. Remember what I told you 1 hour and minutes ago? Your kids don't like to tell what to do. That still reminds you. Let the story tell the moral. Don't tell them directly, oh, you know, wars are bad. Yeah, wars are bad, but don't let, for example, a story of a war of somebody loses, let's say, a parent. That the lesson of loss not be too preachy. Or about war, don't be too preachy. Kids will understand. Remember, even if your reader is a minor, they know what's going on. In their imaginative brains, they know what's going on. And this is an age where they start to be aware of what's going on around them. Because again, I have to belong somewhere. Which are the structures of society? Where do I belong? This is the age of discovery. So, let your story do the talk. Don't tell them nothing. Let the characters be powerful. Let the theme be powerful so that the story carries it with ease. And your readers are going to say, this was an awesome book. I loved it. This author didn't tell me what was wrong or right. In fact, didn't tell me what was right. The story just told itself. And that's what you want. Also, another aspect to keep in mind is don't talk down. Children absorb everything and comprehend a lot more than we give them credit. They also find it irritating why do we talk slower and only use words we assume they can spell. Simplicity is still valuable here. But let's say if ravenous is the right word, use it and support it with context. So again, you can use simple words, sure, but also, if you can just put a little challenge in there, the kid's going to understand. As it says here, and you can also see yourself, kids nowadays observe everything. It's fascinating sometimes, it's scary. Because can you imagine your kid grabbing a cell phone and know what to do with the cell phone? It's scary. But at the same time, it's fascinating because they probably watched you all to do it. They probably were just watching aside and saying, oh, okay, oh, these features like this, oh, okay, fair enough. They picked up from you or someone else or from a friend, who knows. So, yes, don't talk them down. Just, yes, less be simple, but at the same time, if you can challenge them, even good. Because their brain is going to be prepared for the future. Remember that. So, also use slang with caution. When the mature among us try to write for younger audiences, it's easy to reach for the slang. Reach for the slang. This is a dangerous ground. A reader who picks up your slangy book 10 years from now on will either assume the story they are reading takes place in the past, not necessarily a bad thing, or they will think they are reading a story written by a grown-up who's trying to replace to them and missing the mark. I'm not saying to avoid slang. Just know the risks if you decide it's the right place for your novel. Yes, I mean, kids use slangs 100%, but all the time can be a dangerous ground. So, if you're going to use a slang in your kid book, be mindful when it's going to be necessary. Or if you're going to suspect the kid is going to say, man, this wasn't a grandma trying to sound like me. Nah, I don't like it. Believe me, they will tell you. I'm going to tell again, kids have no filters. They have none. If you want an honest answer, the kid's going to tell you. They have no filters. They're very innocent, they are, but they have no filters. So, the second last aspect is give kids agency. Your child protagonist must face their internal and external conflicts without an adult holding their hand. Of course, they can go to a grown-up for mentorship, but their battle, the decisions, and the victory all must be their own. They will answer to the question, what is middle grade fiction? Is literature designed to empower young readers. These books are safe spaces where kids can test out risks, consequences, challenges, and solutions in their imagination. If you let an adult lead the way or save the day, your readers lose their sense of possibility and personal responsibility. Remember, the child runs the show to the very end, not mom and dad. And this is why I have read minutes ago that the kids love to be the center of the story. They love to be the heroes of the story. That's for the same reason. When you write a protagonist for your kids, give them agency, give them obstacles, give them difficulties in life related to their age. Let's keep this in mind. You have already a great protagonist in their story. They have to feel related to, because again, they have to feel they are in that character's skin. They have to feel they are the characters. And once they read the protagonist's journey, how they went through a certain difficulty in their lives, and mom and dad didn't hold their hand, they mentor them, they advise them, but then the kids take some decision. They say, oh, I relate to this. It's what's happening right now. It's reflecting, mirroring my life. And the last aspect is just write. And now that you have a grasp of what to do, just start writing your novel. Do what you think is right to write a compelling story for children, and keep in mind everything that you learn. And this was for middle grade fiction. This was for your kids, for 8 to 12 years old. You have to write. And for that, we are going to listen to my other song. As you can see, this is going to be no longer songs. Now, I don't know how many of you have watched this movie. It's a very movie. It's not. I don't remember. There's much conflict going on, but it's like a sports film. It's called Space Jam. And yes, it's gonna be that very famous song, "I Believe I Can Fly," by R. Kelly. So guys, let's all believe we can fly.
I used to think that I could not go on, and life was nothing but an awful song. But now I know the meaning of true love. I'm leaning on the everlasting arms. If I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. See, I was on the verge of breaking down. Sometimes silence can seem so loud. There are miracles in life I must achieve. But first I know it starts inside of me. Oh, if I can see it, then I can be it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. Oh, I believe I can fly. Hey, 'cause I believe in you. If I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe
Wow. I believe I can fly. We all can fly. We all have the, metaphorically speaking, ability to fly, to let all the wings spring and let's just fly out there to see everything we need and to live life. This is I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly from Space Jam. I think this movie is pretty old. Not this very old like ancient, but there's some years now, and yeah, I still remember watching that, but I don't think I paid much attention what happened. So, the next song, let's go back to the Disney, and it is called I Wanna Be Like You from the Jungle Book. So guys, let's just be like ourselves.
Now I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. I wanna be a man cub, and stroll right into town, and be just like the other men. I'm tired of walking around. Oh, ooby-doo, I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you. You see it's true. And if like me, can learn to be human too. Your part of the deal, cuz. Lay the secret on me of man's red fire.
But I don't know how to make fire.
Now don't try to kid me, man cub. I made a deal with you. What I desire is man's red fire to make my dream come true. Now give me the secret, man cub. Come on, clue me what to do. Give me the power of man's red flower so I can be like you.
The day, the days of bones about Bobby.
Abadoo-dee.
Will a reap another?
Ebadobadoi.
Will a la pasini?
Wallabut, woolabut.
Sibla-dori. Will a ha. Get mad, baby. Will a ha-la-la-la-la-do-do.
I wanna be like you.
I wanna walk like you, talk like you, too. You see it's true. Someone like me can learn to be like someone like me. Take me home, Daddy. Can learn to be like someone like you.
One more time.
Yeah, can learn to be like someone like me. Say da ba 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 da doodle da 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 da.
Well, this was I Want to Be Like You from Jungle Book. Oh yes, think about all these Disney stories, and they're not particularly from the Disney, they're just adapted, because yes, I've heard that if probably someone would tell that these were just adaptations, and probably the original stories are darker than these Disney ones, probably your childhood will be, in a sense, probably not, well, I want to say destroyed, but probably going to be in a question of all childhood. So bless us all, will grow up with the Disney and all these stories, etc. So the next song is actually from Disney again. It's from the Beauty and the Beast. And I think it's called Something There. Is that scene when the Bella is with the Beast is growing his own character arc, he's becoming a good, very compassionate being, and they're just sharing this very mindful moment between them. So, something there from Beauty and the Beast.
There's something sweet and almost kind, but he was mean and he was coarse and unrefined, and now he's dear and so unsure. I wonder why I didn't see it there before.
She glanced this way, I thought I saw. And when we touched, she didn't shudder at my paw. No, it can't be, I'll just ignore. But then she's never looked at me that way before.
New and a bit alarming. Who'd have ever thought that this could be true? That he's no Prince Charming, but there's something in him that I simply didn't see.
Well, who'd have thought?
Well, bless my soul.
Well, who'd have known?
Well, who indeed?
And who'd have guessed it come together on their own?
It's so peculiar.
Well, wait and see. A few days more. There may be something there that wasn't there before.
Perhaps there's something there that wasn't there before.
What?
There may be something there that wasn't there before.
What's there, Mama?
I'll tell you when you're older.
Right then.
Yeah, something wasn't there before. And Bella and Beauty, they grow feelings for each other. I think it is how the story goes, I remember correctly. And he also grew to be a man, be compassionate, kind as well. So because he saw I think he was selfish and arrogant, something like that. There was a curse upon it, and boom, he became a beast. And I hope we wouldn't give much of time for just one last anime song as well, which is called Digimon Adventure for Toei Animation. So, this is again anime. Kids watch this, they are very fixated on these monsters, etc. Which is, if you think about Digimon, is more or less like Pokemon, but it's more technology, I think. I never watched it, by the way, but I think it's one of these terms. So, guys, Digimon Adventure. This was Digimon, the main theme. What it was said, I have no idea. It was in Japanese. So probably go with your feelings and see what happens. I was just going to say, on the next show, I'm going to be with another presenter. I'm not going to tell who it is, because if you've been listening to Dreamcatcher Radio, you're going to recognize her. So, we're going to see things about artistic arts and how we put always ourselves there, just a little bit ourselves. And I think it should be a very interesting topic, and probably other things. We're going to listen something I'm going to see on YouTube, something interesting, and then we're going to discuss about that. And because we stopped on the middle grade fiction, after my next show is going to be the 4th show, I can imagine, like, wow, I couldn't imagine days, 40 shows, me being on the radio station, talking about books, literature, etc. for the thousands of people out there. I couldn't see myself, but now I can. So, after the show on the next week with another presenter, we're going to introduce for young adult fiction. And this should be interesting as well. Should be part of interesting parts. Because remember, it starts always from the little ones. If we have them, great stories to tell, they listen to us.